What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Miami. This is season 7, episode 11. And the reason why I'm not on camera, most people, if you have seen my community tab, then you know why. But if you haven't seen it, I had an allergic reaction. I've never had food allergies before, so it threw me off. Saturday, I went to a local bakery, got a really nice pastry. The pastry was really good, okay? Next thing I know, I wake up Sunday morning and my eyes are swollen shut. It looked like I got beat up in the middle of the night. Like someone just laid the paws on me, okay? And today I'm doing a lot better. The swelling has gone down, but I still don't feel comfortable being on camera until I see it fully go away. Okay. But let's get into this review. So, y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy. Well, I decided to do a standalone spicy corner. It should be out before this video, but if you want to know my thoughts about Todd, about Lisa, Marisol's lawsuit and all of that stuff, please check out that video. The link will be in the description box below. All right, so let's get into this review. All right, y'all. So let's get into this review. So the episode opens up, and the women are still in Seville, aka Sevilla, and they're pretty much getting ready for that day's activities. We find out that the larger group will be split into two groups because some women are going to their appointment to get fitted for their flamenco dresses. The other women are going to go to this oyster bar, and then they're going to switch for their time at the appointment. So we see Stephanie and Larsa get down to the lobby first and they greet Lisa. Both of them are surprised to see her. They both hug her and they're both like, "Girl, what happened? Why were you late? We were worried about you." Lisa ends up saying that she had a lot of legal paperwork and legal matters to attend to. Larsa ends up saying, "Well, girl, you were also in St. Bart's. So which one is it?" And so Lisa says that she had to get that stuff together and that I guess her lawyers were either in St. Bart's or were still communicating to her while she was in St. Bart's. You have Larsa in her confessional being like, "Did you really need to leave the country in order to handle legal matters?" And then you have Lisa in her confessional basically saying that her and Jody had committed to the villa and they weren't going to not go to that villa. So what it boils down to me is that Lisa knew she was going to be late and just did not care about wasting other people's time. Because on the last episode, Lisa was like, the women are going to feel real bad once they find out why I was late. So you're trying to leverage your divorce in order to make people feel bad for you because you don't like the fact that they're mad at you for being late all the time and being inconsiderate. Because honestly, what it sounds like to me is that you overestimated your time of like transitioning from one trip to the other and you were late. And honestly, if Lisa wanted to be considerate, all she had to do was send a text message to the massive group chat that they have, or just call somebody. And I know somebody might bring up what happened on the after show where Lisa says she did text Gertie and she did text Alexia, but clearly your text messages weren't enough because everybody was still worried and trying to figure out what was going on with you. And honestly, to me, when things have simple fixes and you don't do them, it shows a sign of you don't care to me because a simple phone call could have caused this situation to go away so quickly. And I think at this point, the women already know that Lisa's going to be late all the time. And honestly, like I said in my last review, I just would stop inviting you to stuff. Like, I'm not inviting you if you're always late. I'm just not. Like, that's rude. And I can say that as someone who used to be late constantly. And then eventually I had to be like, you know what? That's disrespectful to be constantly late to events or to meeting up with your friends. That's not fair to them. And you don't like when people waste your time. Okay. So I've gotten better with it. So I know Lisa can do the same. So the rest of the ladies make their way down to the lobby. They're all surprised and shocked to see Lisa. They're all asking her how she's been, if she's okay. And then Julia tells them how they're splitting up the group. So Larsa, Stephanie, Lisa, Adriana, and Marisol are going to the flamenco costume designers appointment first. And then Kiki, Julia, Alexia, No, yeah, Kiki, Julia, Alexia, and Gertie are going to this oyster bar. So we see the girls break up. We see the first group go to the Flamenco designer's place, and that is the group that has Larsa, Lisa, and Stephanie in it. They're all trying on outfits. The dresses are pretty. The lady explains how the polka dots that were on the dress were actually a mistake, but people liked it so much that they ran with that pattern. Marisol ends up calling Steve in the confessional, her husband, talking about she want to get married again because the dress that she had on was all white and she felt very like wedding like. We then have this moment where Larsa is explaining to Lisa about the fight that happened between Stephanie and Alexia. And Lisa's like, really? It went down like that at dinner? But she's doing it sarcastically because she was like, of course they would be loud. So then while they're talking, Stephanie ends up telling Marisol she didn't like the fact that Marisol said this statement. So they flash back to when Marisol basically says, you know what, y'all, I'm always gonna bet on my girl Alexia because when I tell you she knows how to argue and she buries people. Like she buries people. And so Stephanie was like, she didn't appreciate Marisol saying that she buried her because she was like, she didn't bury me and we were not trying to bury each other. And so then Marisol says, well, I'm glad you don't feel buried. And I did chuckle at that. So then Stephanie takes it upon herself to say, you know, Marisol, you act really different when you're not around Alexia. She was like, actually, like, I like this Marisol that's not around Alexia. And then Adriana chimes in and she was like, yeah, you are a lot better without her. And you could tell that Marisol was kind of taken aback by it. She kind of was like, oh, okay. And you see Stephanie in her confessional basically saying that Marisol will always be there for Alexia. If Alexia says that she likes chocolate chip ice cream, Marisol will say she likes chocolate chip ice cream. But if Alexia is not there and then you ask Marisol again, do you like chocolate chip ice cream? Marisol will say, well, actually, I really don't like chocolate chip ice cream. Basically saying that that lady is up her butt, that Marisol's up Alexia's butt. So then Lisa chimes in and she was like, well, we always know that you're going to have Alexia's back to a fault. Okay. We just know that about you, Marisol. And Marisol was like, well, yeah, she's my friend, you know, that's my girl. So we then see the women leave the shop and we find out that they're going to go back on Sunday to pick up their dresses. This situation with Marisol and Alexia is interesting to me because I see so many different angles. Like on one end, when I heard Stephanie bring this up, I kind of felt like it was weird. I was like, Stephanie, do you not want Alexia and Marisol to be friends? And honestly, how can you even really evaluate their relationship when you are constantly telling people that you don't have friends? But then when Adriana chimed in and was like, yeah, no, you are better without her, I'm like, okay, does Alexia egg on Marisol or does Marisol egg on Alexia, or are they really bad when they're together with each other? And then it also made me think about Robin and Giselle from Real Housewives of Potomac, how a lot of people wanted Robin and Giselle to break up. Even me, I wanted to see a season without Robin. I wanted to see a season without Giselle to see how they would do standing on their own. And we got that season 9, kinda, but Giselle still had Ashley. And I slightly didn't understand why everyone was so mad at those. I'll put myself in this boat that wanted to see that duo broken up. And now that I'm seeing it in a different group with Alexia and Marisol, I kind of understand why people were like, well, if the show was supposed to be about friendships and the women, you know, bonding, why would you want a friendship that has been there for years to be broken apart? And I'm looking at it a different way with those types of lens where I'm like, granted, they probably are better without each other. But then I've also seen people say, well, you know, when I'm with my friend, we bring out the best in each other or we're just always having a good time. But I do think it's kind of striking that the women have noticed that they both kind of act differently when the other's not around. Like they kind of like tone down their antics or tone down their personality when that other person isn't there. And I think that's a problem. So I wonder how that will be moving forward. So the next scene we get is of Alexia, Kiki, Gertie, and Julia going to the oyster bar or shop or whatever. I would have been happy because I like oysters. I love me a good fried oyster. And they also had like prosciutto. That's what it looked like to me. That was like on the slab that they were eating. They gave Kiki an oyster. She almost projectile vomit. She was like, ugh, ugh, and they were trying to help her out. I said, oh my gosh. I thought that was funny. Okay. It actually reminded me of my cousin. There's a story that my family always tells when she first tried oysters. They will never let it go because it was that hilarious. So Alexia ends up saying in her confessional that she's noticed that the vibe with Kiki has been off. She was like, when we were in the car, she wasn't really talking to nobody when we first got here to Seville. Then when we were at dinner, she wasn't really speaking. So then Alexia goes on to ask Kiki what's going on. And Gertie ends up telling Kiki, say what you need to say. So I guess Gertie and Kiki have had conversations about this. And Kiki immediately gets emotional and she talks about how she's scared. And Julia and Alexia are looking at her. Honestly, Alexia was way more caring with how she was speaking to Kiki than Julia. Julia didn't say nothing. I was like, girl, you can't muster up any words of encouragement. You just sitting there stone faced. Did you vote for that orange man? Because I'm confused. I was like, you can, so it's no, you're an immigrant. You can show no empathy or care to this lady. So basically, Kiki says that due to the Biden administration, they made it a little easier for people to migrate over to America if they have family members. She brought up people from Haiti, from Mexico, and I think another country. And Kiki was helping sponsor some of her family members. Gertie ends up asking her, how many people were you able to bring over? And Kiki says 5 people. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's a blessing. Like that's wonderful that you were able to do that. So then she basically says, now all of a sudden I'm getting hit with harassment from my family. This is when she really gets emotional and she just talks about how she's been getting death threat. It's been causing her a lot of anxiety and she was scared. Her and her daughter actually had to pick up and move because of how bad the harassment got. And Alexia is like, oh my gosh, like, did your family step in? Like what's going on? And so Gertie ends up explaining, like, a lot of the energy coming out of the people in that area is desperation. Like they kind of feel like, why'd you pick them and you didn't pick me? And then Gertie says in her confessional, she kind of has like a love-hate relationship with Haiti, where she basically says, like, I love my country, but it's a lot of desperate people there and it's just a bad situation. Kiki is still like, crying, and she was just like, it's been a lot. In her confessional, she just talks about how she wanted to bring her family over. Like she wants to help everybody, but she knows she can't. And she was like, they assume because she's a model and she's on TV, she has all this money, and that's not the case. Alexia says that she can relate because her parents were immigrants, so she understands like like seeing what they had to go through with their family, so she can understand what Kiki's going through. I still think it's really weird that Julia didn't have anything to say and you're an immigrant girl from Russia. Like, you telling me ain't none of your Russian friends or family members been like, hey, can you get me over here in America? Or like, you can't help me with a visa? I don't know. I just thought it was weird that she didn't offer up any words and it was just Alexia and Gertie trying to encourage Kiki. And then she was really quick to like force them to do a toast. And I'm like, can you wait? Can you wait? So then Alexia says she just wants to make sure that Kiki knows that we love and support her and we will be there in her corner. She says all of this in her confessional. So continuing with this group, we end up seeing them make it to the Flamenco shop and they're trying on dresses. Julia pulls Alexia to the side because she wants to know how's the trip going. And she's like, I'm having a good time. When I'm on a trip, I'm really on a trip. I've talked to Frankie a few times, but I'm really enjoying it. So then Julia notices that Alexia has on her wedding ring. And she's like, girl, what is this? And the producers end up asking Alexia in the confessional, girl, why are you starting to wear your wedding ring again? And she's like, well, I'm still married. She also tells Julia that Todd texts her every morning, buenos dias. And I'm like, Alexia, girl, let that man go. Let him go. So then we see the other women and they're walking around Seville having a good time. And I think Larsa was the one that brought up that she was like, I think this trip is good for Alexia. I think she also brought up that she was like, she hadn't heard Alexia talk about Todd not once. So then Marisol basically said that's pretty much because they met up with each other right before the trip. He took her to New York and they were in a good place. And so she says, when things are good with Todd, Alexia's good. But when they're bad, it's bad. Okay. and she's not in a good place. And so they flash back 7 months, when the whole situation went down, when Todd filed for divorce, and she's breaking down in Alexia's in Marisol's arms. And then we see Marisol talking to Steve about Todd, saying that she was like, she doesn't think that Todd is good for Alexia, and she just wants them to like stay apart. But Larsa ends up saying, girl, if Todd and Alexia get back together, Marisol, you in trouble. And Marisol basically says, I stay clear of Todd because Alexia tells me where Todd goes. So then Larsa brings up, like, what happens if they get back together, girl? Like, what you gonna do? And Marisol said, I know if they get back together, I'm gonna be swimming and the New York River in some cement shoes. Because she was like, he don't like me. So then Larsa brings up the whole unfollowing Marcus Jordan situation. And Marisol basically tells her, well, why don't you have the conversation with her? Like, why don't you tell her how you're feeling? So we actually see Larsa pull Lisa to the, well, not even to the side. They're standing in front of somebody's shop. And she ends up asking Lisa, like, hey, did you unfollow my ex-boyfriend? And Lisa was like, no. And so Larsa is like, are you planning to unfollow him? And Lisa's like, IDK, I don't know. And Larsa's like, well, you told me you would. Like, what do you mean? And Lisa ends up saying, well, that was after we had our situation, and then you started doing things that were like I didn't agree with. And so Larsa's like, what things have I done? Lisa's like, I don't want to get into all of this right now, but I'm looking at Lisa like, girl, tell her what she has done to you so y'all can like get over this. But she won't say anything. So Larsa's like, okay, Lisa, all right, we don't need to be friends because I don't want to be friends with someone who doesn't understand how I'm feeling. I've told you this repeatedly, that this man has disrespected me, that was bashing me publicly, and you should unfollow him. So then Larsa gets pissed and she was like, you know what? Don't unfollow him. I'm just gonna let you know that we're never friends. It is what it is. And I'm not gonna lie, Larsa tickled me because she was like, if my grandparents broke up today and my grandmother unfollowed my granddaddy, I'm unfollowing him. I'm gonna unfollow my grandfather. That's just what you do. Not you saying, girl, I'm rolling with my grandmother. That tickled me. So then Larsa is now like really angry. And the women are like, come on, y'all, let's just go. Let's just go. And Larsa's like, you know what? Nobody missed you yesterday. You were not missed. You know what? So then Lisa ends up saying that Larsa wants to like bulldoze people. And she just wants me to just do what she says. But I'm not going to do it. And honestly, Marcus has been a better friend to me than she has. So I'm not going to unfollow him. So they make it all the way back to the hotel, and in the lobby, you see Marisol, Lisa, and Adriana. And Lisa's like, girl, she's calling me a groupie and disrespecting me. Marisol is trying to tell Lisa, girl, just unfollow him and just call it a day. It's not that deep. And Lisa's like, but it's okay for her to call me names. You hear Larsa call her an effing B as she walks away with Stephanie. And Marisol's just like, somebody has to like move the needle. Like somebody has to. And she was like, well, didn't you call her a groupie first? And then Lisa's like, no, she called me a groupie first. And she's also called me this. And Lisa pulls out her phone and we find out that she's been taking notes as to like the interactions that she's been having with Larsa. Marisol thinks that's crazy because she was like, why are you taking notes on people that are supposed to be your friends? And she was like, I don't have time for this. Adriana ends up saying, you know what? I need to go get ready because we have flamenco dancing in about an hour. This is what it boils down to me. I think both Larsa and Lisa are groupies and social climbers, because you can't tell me if Marcus Jordan was just Marcus Jordan and his daddy wasn't Michael Jordan, that Lisa would follow him. She would gladly unfollow that man. She probably wouldn't even follow him in the first place, because who is he to her? Like, at the end of the day, Lisa is giving groupie. You just want to be his friend, or you want to keep him in your follower account because he is Michael Jordan's son. Jody likes being around him because he's Michael Jordan's son, and he might be the plug for the AC. We don't know, okay? He might have quality AC, all right? But that is groupie behavior. And if Larsa was your best friend or someone you considered a friend, you would have gladly unfollowed that man. You would have let it go and kept it pushing. Is Larsa wrong with the way that she's coming at Lisa? Yeah, because you can't force anybody to do what you want them to do. She's a grown adult, and I understand Larsa is hurt by this, but at the end of the day, if I was Larsa, I would just understand if she's gonna move that way, then I'm gonna move differently and I'm gonna move accordingly. Because at this point, Larsa is definitely giving, you've had your fun, let the mouse go. Shouts out to Sutton. Because yeah, girl, she's not gonna do what you want her to do. If you think she's a crappy friend, then that's what she is, and keep it pushing. All right. So then we see Adriana go to Lisa's room and she's getting ready. And so we see her on the phone with Jody, basically venting to Jody about how Larsa has been behaving and being like, she's trying to force me to do things. And if you're really my friend, you don't have to always say that I'm your friend. She almost broke us up as well. And so they flash back to when Larsa and her had that conversation. And Larsa was like, girl, I want the best for you. I would never want the worst for you. And Jody ends up saying on the phone, you have ever met a better self-proclaimed friend? Like basically saying if you constantly have to say like, hey, I'm a good friend to you, I'm this, I'm that, then are you really a good friend? We then actually get a confessional with Jody where Jody is getting irritated with Lisa, which I feel like is understandable. He's trying to have a conversation with production. Lisa's not paying attention. She's all up on her phone. And so producers ends up asking Jody, so Jody, obviously we want to hear your side of the story. So tell us what's going on. Like, why would y'all about to break up? And he said something about lies being spread about him and things of that nature. As he's trying to talk, Lisa is still steadily typing on her phone. And he's like, that's kind of distracting. Can you put your phone away? She starts acting like a brat. And she was like, ugh. Oh, she's like, okay, I'm not trying to distract you or anything of that nature. Lisa finally puts the phone away, and basically she ends up saying that Jody has a right to defend himself and she loves him and he loves her. He says he loves her. Honestly, I wasn't really a fan of the confessional they did together because I didn't understand why Lisa was being bratty. Like he's sitting in the confessional and he's just asking you to like put your phone away because he's distracted with what she's doing. Then when she's like all over him being like, I love him and he loves me. And it just, I don't. Lisa is exhausting to me. As much as people say that Larsa is exhausting, Lisa is exhausting to me because Lisa to me acts like a child. She acts like a teenager. And that whole interaction between her and Jody, I was like, okay, I see why Jody feels like he has to be a part of your business. He has to be in your like intermeshing himself into your life because you act like a child. Like it would have taken only like maybe 10 minutes for you to put that phone down, let him do his confessional, and then when y'all had a break, you then could speak up. I don't think it's wrong for Jody to defend himself if he feels like what Larsa is saying is like lies, but I get why Jody treats Lisa like a child because Lisa behaves like a child. And I was like, it's not very cute, to be honest, to be 43 and you're still acting like you're 23. And then you have this man who's really meshing his life into yours that if y'all do get together, he's going to take half of what you got, girl, because you don't know how to do it by yourself. I just don't get how Lisa went from Lenny and now she's with Jody and it feels like she's exhibiting the same behaviors where she's just allowing this man to take the lead. But I hope that's just a facade and she really is about her business and stuff right now. So the next scene we see is the ladies all dressed, ready to go to this flamenco, like spiritual dancing situation. And the rest of the women are all sitting downstairs. Lisa's not there yet. And so they're asking Larsa about what happened. And she was like, well, I asked Lisa, did you unfollow my ex? And she said no. And they're like, really? And you hear Gertie say, wait, she just said no. And Larsa's like, yeah, she basically said no, I'm not gonna unfollow him. And then Adriana chimes in and she was like, we all don't like when people try to tell us what to do, but just give her a moment. I think eventually like she'll do it. So then Julia gets really like activated, and she was like, it's girl code. Like, Lisa's not respecting girl code. And I'm like, okay, Julia, calm down. You then see the rest of the women in their confessionals saying the same thing. Gertie says, like, yeah, girl, just unfollow him. You wouldn't know Marcus without Lisa. Like, girl code, unfollow. Alexia says the same thing. She was like, honestly, I don't follow none of my friends' significant others. Like, she was like, I don't even follow Steve, and me and Marisol are like, we tight as whatever, but I'm not gonna follow. Then Adriana ends up saying, well, you know, I still follow Lenny. And I'm like, why are you still following Lenny? That man has treated Lisa like garbage. Like, bitch, unfollow him. Like, if I was Lisa, that would have me activated. Cause why are you following that man and you seen the way he done me? Okay, like what we doing? But she was like, it's not that deep. So then Lisa gets there and everyone gets ready and they all pal into separate sprinters. So you have Julia in her confessional saying, like, it feels like if you're so close to Larsa, Lisa, why not unfollow her? Just do that one thing for your friend. And so we see the girls split up into groups. So you see Larsa, Adriana, Alexia, and Marisol in the car. And Marisol was like, well, I did tell her to like unfollow. I was like, I highly encouraged her to. You got Alexia being like, who's Kylie? Because she, from the way that Marisol said highly, she thought she said Kylie, and then Marisol said, no, girl, I said highly. Like, I highly encouraged her to do something. And she said, oh, okay. So then in the other car, you have Lisa, Gertie, Julia, Kiki, and Stephanie. And Julia is telling Lisa, like, why would you not unfollow Marcus? The same man that basically said that we weren't even good enough to wash the dishes in their house, let alone speak about their relationship last season. And so Lisa ends up saying, well, I know there's probably a couple of people that y'all follow that I don't agree with the things that they've said. So why is it a big issue? So then Julia is like, well, because she's your friend, like you, like if y'all are friends, you should unfollow her. And so you got Kiki and Stephanie just like, girl, can y'all shut up? This is a small car. So then Lisa is about to say something because she was like, I feel like you guys are already taking Larsa's side. Julia cuts her off, and then Lisa's like, Julia, this is like the second time you cut me off. Let me finish speaking. But then Julia out of nowhere starts to get irate. And I'm like, well, girl, you're the one that brought up the conversation. Why are you yelling at Lisa? Like, if you like you the one that started it. And so she gets so upset where she's like, pull over, just pull over. And they pull over the car. She was like, I can't do it. We have 1 hour. Can we just have 1 hour? You guys, it's the same thing over and over. You never stop. And so the other women in the other car are like, girl, what's going on? And then someone said they're arguing. Lisa and Julia are arguing. So they pull up to some like alleyway, and Kiki is trying to get Julia to calm down. Gertie's trying to get Lisa to calm down because Lisa was like, can somebody have my back? I feel like nobody has my back. And Gertie is like, well, I'm listening to you. I'm trying to listen, but like, can you chill? So then Kiki is like, is it really that deep for y'all to be arguing about who followed who didn't follow who? Like, it's not that deep. Like, can we just all calm down? Can we just all calm down? And I was with Kiki. I was with Kiki and I was with Gertie because I was like, first of all, Julia started it again, and like Julia needed to calm down. I do agree that like Gertie was listening, but I think Lisa just doesn't like the fact that everyone agrees that like, girl, why are you following Marcus? Like, the rest of us don't follow him. So it is giving that you're only following him to spite Larsa, or it's groupie activity. So the final episode is, I want to call it the red dress dinner, okay? Even though Larsa and Stephanie were not in red, it seems like all the other women had packed like a red outfit. They look nice. I think Gertie looked the best. Like, the dress fit her body like a glove. The body was tea. And so they're all at dinner, and next thing you know, Lisa's phone keeps ringing. Like, she keeps getting these emails, and then she finally reads them and she starts freaking out because basically she needs to get her parental agreement with Lenny finalized by about like, I think they said within an hour, because it's 2 p.m. in Miami, but I think it was nighttime in Seville. So she's freaking out. Everyone at the table is like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And so you see Kiki be like, Lisa, what's going on? And she's like, girl, I have to get this documents finalized in order for my divorce to like go on. And so Kiki's surprised. You see Larsa, and Larsa's getting steady irritated with Lisa, where she's just kind of like, girl, can it be one night where it's not about you and your meltdowns? So Lisa grabs her phone and she walks away from the table. As Lisa walks away from the table, Larsa starts to tell everybody that she's tells everyone like, you know what, I'm ready to go home. And everyone's like, what do you mean, like, you know, like go home, like go home as into the hotel, or go home as in like back to Miami? And she's like, no, like I'm ready to go back to the hotel and order room service. Like I can't do this with her anymore. She then also let it be known that Jody has been texting her and she's like over it, and she wants no parts. So Lisa sits back down and Larsa just gets into it, where she basically tells Lisa, you know what? I no longer want to have a relationship with you. Lisa feels blindsided because she's like confused as to what Larsa's talking about. She was like, you know what? I don't have a feeling or want to be friends with you. Lisa's just sitting there like confused, like, girl, what did I just walk into? She was like, you know what? Everyone at this table says that you're not the greatest friend. And then Gertie is like, girl, speak for yourself, because I never said that. Larsa brings up, like, when we were at the narcissist party, everyone gave you a red flag, and like it is what it is. She was like, don't worry about unfollowing anybody anymore, because I'm over it and I'm done. So she's like, I'm ready to go. So Larsa immediately gets up. Everyone's like, girl, where are you going? Lisa starts crying. She was like, girl, she ruined the night. Because Gertie is like, are you just gonna let this one night ruin everything? She was like, girl, she ruined everything. I said, okay, dramatic. And so she storms off. Lisa's like, I can't deal with this right now, y'all. I cannot. And so she's crying at the table. Kiki and Stephanie are like, Larsa, why are you letting Lisa get to you so badly? And that's when she was like, girl, her boyfriend's texting me. I don't want to be in this toxic situation anymore. I'm over it. So then Gertie is like, girl, what just happened? What's going on? So then Marisol is like, Larsa, you know, Lisa is like dealing with a lot. Like, come on, give her some grace. And then Larsa is just like, I'm over it. I don't want to have to do all of that. So then Kiki walks back into the table and she's like, well, Lisa, Jody has been texting Larsa. Like, since you told him what happened between y'all, Jody has been texting Larsa. Lisa's like, I didn't know he was doing that. And I'm like, Lisa, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I feel like you know that that man is texting her and you're probably okay with it. So she starts crying even more. So then Gertie comes out and she's like, what's going on? So then Larsa explains to them, and she's showing her text messages that she has between her and Jody, where she's like, Jody's texting me. Now, Lisa said on Twitter that Jody was texting Larsa saying, please stop spreading lies about me or stop messing with Lisa. But the way that Gertie reacted, and we know Gertie be doing a lot, I don't feel like she would have had her mouth open, shocked by the fact that Jody was texting you, if all he said was, please stop. Because she was like gagged, like Gertie had her hand over her mouth. So it definitely feels like Jody is saying more than please stop. And honestly, girl, you need to nip that in the bud. Like, your man should not be texting none of your friends. Because I'm going to let you know now, if I was Larsa, I'd have called Jody and called him everything but a child of God playing on my phone that I paid a bill for. I don't give a damn if I'm fighting with your girlfriend. Don't call my phone. Okay, that's the energy he would have got out of me. All right. Lisa also said that Larsa texted and called him first, but I need to see proof. I do. I need to see it first. I mean, I could see Larsa doing that, but I could also see Jody feeling comfortable to text Larsa to cuss her out. I could. Because if he feels so comfortable chastising her through text messages, I believe that situation that went down in Milan where he yelled at Lisa and Larsa actually happened. I do. And I feel like Lisa is trying to protect her boyfriend. Cause it's something about the way that she's going about it that makes me feel like we're gonna see Jody next season do something that's probably gonna confirm what Larsa has been saying. I know people don't like Larsa. I know people think she is the pits and she's the villain, and that very well is true. She is, but just because you the villain don't mean that you lying all the time. In my book, sometimes you telling the truth and people just don't want to hear because you the messenger. All right, but that's how the episode ended. I hope they show us what was in the text messages because I want to know why Gertie was gagged. I really do. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below and subscribe and like the video. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.